Limitations of Kimyo. The ordeal power system is really not only unique and complex. There are those with broken talents but are not able to compete with those of lesser talents. There are a few non-biological caps that Kimyos have. The first one is obvious, which is experience. When fighting Val, Ilios tells Shay that although he is stronger than he has ever been, that strength won't be able to cover the gap in experience. In this case, Shay has experience fighting stronger opponents. When he was a human, he was introduced fighting against Kimyos. So Ilios told him to fight with the end goal of survival rather than victory. Just because one is born or given so much power does not mean they are impossible to defeat. You have what is known as the blind spot of talents. In episode 6, we were introduced to this concept. A talent's greatest strength from a reverse angle can be its biggest downfall. Since we used Shay a few moments ago, let's take a look into the blind side of his talents. Ilios is regarded as one of the 4 great talents. He can have enhanced physical aptitude while giving him the information on how to use the ability, but how he applies these different abilities will be something he would have to discover. Shay has only been a Kimyo for about 2 years, so his blind side of his talent would be his inexperience as a Kimyo. When looking at the other wolf cubs, even if Shay does have this power up, he will ultimately stalemate with everyone. He was not in Ilios' war state for too long when Ilios stated that Shay is almost at his limit. The next is his reckless nature. Although Yoran helped him realize this fault of his, one of his friends is in danger, he completely disregards his own safety. In typical media, a protagonist's recklessness tends to all work out in the end. Each one of Shay's reckless decisions not only pushed the story forward, but pushed the course of the story down a darker path. Him disregarding himself is also the reason he lost an eye during the Battle of Mount Jotun. Yoran says he fought as if he was disposable, a vessel until you aren't. If your mindset is not in the realm where you are self-aware of your own faults, it could be the very reason your growth as a Kimyo is stunted. Genetic limitations. Although all talents have their mental and emotional limitations, there are biological limitations as well. It's stated that Kimyos in Shay generations are weaker than those in previous generations. One cause is peace. Generally, war breeds a time where we become the best version of ourselves in order to survive. That is one aspect, but it does not explain why most talents aren't combat-based talents and that only few Kimyos are regarded as powerful. It seems the more Kimyos there are, the less are regarded as quote-unquote powerful. What will cause an increase in population but a decrease in the creation of destructive Kimyo talents? Keep in mind that there is some real-world science behind the ordeal power system, as I've shown multiple times up until this point. The best way to answer this question is to go back to the beginning. So let's take a look at the first talent to exist. We have Katagaida, who has the storm talent, Ilios, who has the sun talent, Okinos, who has the ocean talent, and Thanatos, who has the life through death talent. They are regarded as gods and the 4 great talents. When taking a look at the loose Greek mythology roots, most gods began to have babies with mortals. This will create what we know as demigods. In Ordeal's case, when one of the first Kimyos mated with a human, that will create a Kimyo due to the 4 great talent genes being dominant genes. This will produce different talents due to the way everyone genetically is coded differently. So each Kimyo cell type will adjust to the genes provided by the non-Kimyo. As more humans mix in the gene pool, the talent gene, for lack of a better term, will take more of a recessive trait. As people who have Kimyos in their family mate with those who have them as well, it will produce more Kimyos. Thus, the reason for the population growing to 33% of the Earth total population. This would also be the reason to how the talents are produced. Since each generation would have a different genetic history, it is a higher probability that a talent that is not combat adequate will produce. Ancient talents / avatar talents. There are those who gain a talent through genetics naturally. There are those that gain a talent through passing it down through a family. These are typically regarded as ancient talents. Mostly ancient due to them being throughout time, either due to a transfer of the talent or it reappearing naturally. However, there are other ancient talents that have more mythological roots, which will fit with the ancient aesthetic. The talents that are passed down have one quality that they all have in common. I would like to refer to them as avatar talents for lack of a better term due to the effect of it being transferred. The first clan we will look into is the Hemlock clan. They pass down their talent to the first male born of each generation. The talent seems to keep a record of the previous users. When looking at the ashes of the father talent that the Hemlock clan resides over, it is a talent that took generations after the death of each male of the clan. This transfer allowed the talent to stay in the bloodline and grow stronger over time. Every time the talent absorbs the ashes of the previous man in the clan, it becomes stronger. When absorbing the ashes of his uncle, it shows his uncle joining the rest of the ashes of their fallen fathers. This process not only makes the talent more powerful, but we also see his uncle join the rest of the family members. This is reminiscent of Avatar showing the previous lifetime of the users. Now granted, that is a loose connection to the Avatar talent, the next one being a fan favorite leader of the Heart clan, Sabito, the Snow Leopard Heart. This talent is transferred to the first human child of the Heart clan. Hisame automatically defends its user, similar to how Gara-san automatically defend him as well. Hisame is regarded as a living talent. Val, when talking to Sabito, states that he will need the rage of the third clan head if he wants to stop. We then get a shot of the previous users of Hisame behind him. Hisame is then revealed as an entity made up of chi. This would technically classify him as a chi ego. Only the user can see Hisame in normal circumstances. In Avatar, there are a few instances where a previous Avatar took over Aang's body when he did not have the bending knowledge to overcome his current circumstances. We also see this with Yukiko during the end of season 2. The stadium where all Kimyos were registering exploded, unaliving both human and thousands of Kimyo civilians. Yukiko was caught in the proximity of the explosion. However, Hisame manifested itself onto Yukiko, essentially taking over her body, allowing her to produce an ice wall that allowed her to save not only herself but a few of Code's agents as well. Talent possession. There are times where a talent possesses the user. This is not always the case and is very rare. There are only 2 instances with living talents. With living talents, as seen with Kong, Hisame, and Ilio, that they reserve their full powers from their Kimyo. This is in order to protect the body of that Kimyo. Yukiko's possession took all of the chi she had at the time, in which that activation transformed her completely into a Kimyo. The next instance we will talk about is Leo. When he was a child, his squadron, the only family he had, was at risk of becoming unalive. Ilios took control of Leo due to his lack of experience with the talent. We know living talents release portions of their talents to their Kimyo as their body gets stronger in order to withstand such might. An inexperienced Kimyo will make sense for them to be overcome, but during the birth of Shay, an older Leo was taken over by Ilios, in which Ilios was going to end the life of Shay, since he was born to be the reincarnation of Thanatos. At this point of the story, Leo had already finished the war, lived in Japan, and now resides back in Trinidad. This will mean that Leo will have mastery over the state talent. This could be before the time Kevin attempted to reach a similar level. Leo is seen crying and barely able to hold back Ilios, who forced control over this vessel. Avatar talents are often put in the ancient talent category. However, they express even more connection to the talent itself.